COVID-19 cases worldwide is now at 25,508,368 and the deaths are 851,099. Well, over 16 million people have recovered, and infections for the top 5 countries continue to witness a steady rise, with the U.S. crossing the 6 million mark. Brazil is still in second place with over 3.9 million infections, and India now has 3,691,166 cases of infection. Russia is really closing on to the 1 million mark with 997,072 cases, and Peru has over 600,000 cases. This is COVID-19 Myths and Facts. Welcome on board. The federal government is worried over a sudden drop in the testings for COVID-19 in the country. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, told journalists at a weekly briefing of the team in Abuja that a drastic drop in the rate of testing and sample collection in the month of August could lead to another ugly spike in the rate of infections in the country.
This position is informed by the fact in spite of our enhanced testing capacity, the number of samples collected for testing have not been very encouraging. While we intensify our targeted testing synergy and strategy, we still urge the states to expand the scope of their sample collection. We are seeing a gradual shift in areas of high infection burden, with Plateau State reporting the highest number of confirmed cases. Of course, this could be related to increased testing by citizens of the state. However, we also need to look at the flip side, that there are a number of highly undetected cases lying around which we need to discover and deal with early.
While it is not all bad news, the PTF says that there have been more discharges than confirmed cases in the country in the last few weeks. The Presidential Task Force also warned against the reopening of schools without caution.
The Presidential Task Force appreciates the ongoing calls for reopening of the education sector, and indeed some subnationals are already making preparations for such. Whilst the PTF does not discourage making such preparations, we need to be guided by experiences from countries such as Germany, France, the United States, and the UK, where opening of schools in some cities led to an increase in confirmed cases and fatalities.
And from the PTF to the World Health Organization, that says it hopes to see children return to school and people return to work. But these moves must be done under the safety guidelines. The WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus told a virtual press conference that no country can just pretend the pandemic is over. According to him, decisions about how and when to allow gatherings of people must be taken with a risk-based approach and in the local context.
This is clear documentation. So we've had anecdotal reports every now and then of people who've tested negative then tested positive, and it hasn't been clear up until this case whether that was simply a problem with testing or whether people were getting infected a second time. Other important thing to note is the numbers are very, very small. So this is one documented case in over 23 million, and we will probably see other documented cases, but it seems to be not a regular event. We would have seen many more cases.
Now, in other stories, it is reported that COVID-19 tends to hit men harder than it does women. According to WebMD, men around the world who get the virus more often end up in the hospital than women and are nearly 2.5 times more likely to die from it. It says men also tend to discard the use of masks and other protective measures. Matthew Reddick, professor of medicine and urology at the David Griffin School of Medicine at UCLA, and also Johnson Comprehensive Cancer Center, says we think that male hormones such as testosterone make men more susceptible to COVID-19, and that those hormones also increase the odds that men who get the virus will have a more severe illness. A question we want to address or answer with our research known as the HIT study is whether suppressing male hormones will shorten men's time in the hospital, reduce their need for intubation, and prevent them from dying. All of our study participants are hospitalized male veterans. And so joining me via Skype to talk through some thoughts is Dr. Olukemi Olubade. She is a public health physician and also an epidemiologist. She's a co-founder and CEO of Pinpoint Health Solutions. Thank you so much for joining in, Doc.
Thank you, Mr. Adaba.
Great. So straight to the point now, what is with the notion about men being more susceptible to COVID-19 than women?
Yeah, so several research evidence has shown that men have higher risk of contracting COVID-19 infection and also experiencing severe forms of the disease. And this is because due to their social construct as providers, they tend to go out more often. They are in service professions that make them come in contact with a lot of people. Security, they do a lot of security work, logistics work. If you look at the transportation sector, you see that there's a highly interactive profession, and then you see that most of our drivers on the roads are men, long distance drivers, commercial motorcyclists, tricyclists, most of them are men, and these are people that are they have a lot of contact with the public. And then it has also been shown that men take more high-risk behaviors. Since the ease of lockdown, we'll see that there have been clusters of events here and there in bars and clubs, and then most of these events are attended by men. Sporting events are most of the time attended by men, and there's a lot of contact. We've seen a lot of interaction with people who shake hands, shaking of hands, fist bumps, and those kind of contacts, increase the likelihood of transmission because there is high interaction. A lot of men go for mass gatherings, and we see that these cases are more severe in men because of these interactions. Also, we've also found out that men experience more chronic conditions like hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes. And so these conditions to increase severity in people who contract the disease and also increase the risk of death. So we want to make that clear such that more men will be more compliant, as we've seen from the research reported and even other evidences that men are less likely to comply with public health interventions and guidelines. If you look at most hospitals across the country, you would hardly see men come to the hospital, except they are severely ill, usually when it's an emergency. So
Okay,
this
so
is also
if I hear you clearly, a whole lot of social activities is actually a major cause for this. But let's move on to this. So the PTF came up with a sad report. Well, not sad, but disappointing about the low turnout of testing, especially for the month of August. Why do you think this is so? Are people beginning to get comfortable with it and feel they can treat it outside, privately? Or, how can we encourage people to enhance the testing for people to know the status and all?
Okay, so I think this is because if you look at the trend of cases, it's actually on the downward trend. Now, the essence of testing is usually when people become symptomatic, and then you're doing contact tracing, and then for both symptomatic cases and the people that they have been in contact with, you do testing. And then we're seeing reduced cases, we're seeing reduced contact. And at the beginning of the outbreak, there was a lot of community testing when it was discovered that there was community transmission of COVID-19, and community testing was instituted, especially across states in the southwest, Oyo State, Lagos State, Ekiti. Most testing centers were set up in almost all the local government areas in those states and even in the northern parts of the country. And so in these places, a lot of tests have been conducted. And even though our testing rate is not up to the capacity we expect, the recommendation is that at least 1% of the population of the country is tested. That's about 2 million people. And so far, we have just about over 400,000 tests done. So we still need to increase our capacity for testing. But the reason why testing has dropped is because of these factors. A lot of cases have reduced, contacts have reduced, a lot of community testing has been done. But the good thing is that COVID-19, even though it has amplified certain problems in our healthcare system, it has also helped us to strengthen the healthcare system. So now there are testing centers across the states in the country. There are treatment centers for positive cases. So it is now for the people in the community to come forward to be tested. And one of the ways I think this might be able to improve is if we make testing mandatory. Because now testing is like a requirement for international travel. And so before you travel or if you come into the country, you must have a test result. We need to democratize this across other sectors, especially
Doc,
the informal sector.
I know there's a whole lot you have to say. I still have one more question, but guess what? Time forbids us. But thank you so much for being a part of the show and sharing your thoughts with us, Dr. Olukemi Olupade. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for
All right, enjoy the evening. And that's our package on today's edition of COVID-19 Myths and Facts. Thank you so much for watching. Now remember, whatever you do, stay informed and stay safe. I'm Monimisi Adaba. Bye for now.